things that you can search on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and even Google only take up about 1% of the internet. So what's in the rest of the 99%? Well, it's hard to say because you can't actually access it with a normal search engine on your phone or computer, but let me give you a sneak peek. Yeah, that's just a tiny piece of the 99% of the internet that you can't access. But wait, how is this even possible? Well, to understand, we need to know a little bit more about the internet. Wait, did I say a little bit? First of all, to find out why 99% of the internet is unsearchable, we need to know how the internet actually works, which is a lot more interesting than you might think. Then, we'll explore what the dark web actually means, what's on it, and how you, yes you, can access it. And finally, we'll take a look at some of the most disturbing websites on the dark web, and some of the most insane things that you can buy on it now that you know how to access it. Not saying that you should go ahead and do that, but yeah, you'll know how to, I guess. And by the end of this video, you are going to be terrified to go on the internet in general. The way the internet works is actually pretty simple. I'm just kidding, but let me give you the bite-sized version of how it works. Contrary to popular belief, the internet is not a cloud, it's actually a wire. Don't believe me? Well, if you had a wire and you hooked two computers to each end, they could communicate with each other through that wire. And well, congrats. You just created an internet. Obviously, this internet kinda sucks compared to the one that we use on a regular basis. The computers can only share the information that they have. And with only two computers, your brain that's broken from endless TikTok and YouTube shorts would get bored pretty easily. Luckily, the internet that we use is connected to a lot of computers. And these computers are connected to even more across the entire world. To keep track of all of these computers, each piece of the network has an address that looks like this, which is pretty hard to remember, so we usually turn them into something that looks like this. Each file that you send and receive has a known origin point and destination point. It'll then find its way to and from these 2 points by going through a network and telling each computer in the middle where it needs to end up, so that computer can send it onto the right path. So let's say you want to search something on Google, or maybe even your bank so that you can log into your account. You tell the computer, hey, ask Google to search up my bank for me so I can easily get the link. Your computer then sends that message off to Google and it spits out a bunch of results at you where you can find your bank. Cool. You have just interacted with the surface web, and everything that you can communicate with just like that is a part of it. But what's the use of a bank website if you can't actually log into your own account? And that's why you can't just Google your bank account and log in credentials. Because if that was on the internet, you're just looking to get hacked. If someone could just Google your bank account and get right into it, well, it wouldn't really be that bad since in this economy, you're probably broke just like me. But in all seriousness, your specific bank account is not accessible through a search engine like Google because it's not listed on the surface web. And instead, it is a part of what we call the deep web. The deep web is anything that is password protected under a paywall or anything like that. And it actually takes up a majority of the internet. But there is another level. Right under the deep web, you guessed it, is the dark web. And I know that's what you actually clicked on this video for, because the dark web is where all of the illegal stuff happens. You like illegal stuff, right? Anyways, why does the dark web even exist and how does it work differently from the internet? Well, it's no secret that you're getting tracked when you're on the internet. That's why when you like a picture of a pair of shoes on Instagram, you get an ad for that pair of shoes a day or two later. And that's also why Target knew a woman was pregnant before she even did. Yeah, that's real. Look it up. Anyways, not everyone likes to be tracked by the government. And funny enough, you and the government have a lot in common because they also don't want to be tracked by the other governments. Isn't that ironic? No, the government doesn't search up the same sus things that you do. I mean, maybe they do, but I wouldn't know. But what they do want is to protect their communications, secret files, and things like that. So in the 1990s, researchers at the US Naval Research Laboratory began working on something called onion routing, so that the Russians couldn't intercept government transmissions while they were being relayed. And this onion was basically the birth of the dark web. But why an onion? Well, unlike the regular internet that we discussed earlier, basically onion routing protects any data transmitted through it by wrapping it in multiple layers of encryption. Encrypting a message basically jumbles up the data within a file in a certain way, where only the sender and receiver have the code to unencrypt it. In onion routing, this encryption process happens multiple times, so it ends up being a secret code, on top of a secret code, on top of a secret code, and so on. But if you don't know how to decode all of those things in the right order with the right answers, well, you're out of luck. Let me take you through a little example. Let's say you have a super important file that you want to send over the dark web, because it's so important that if anybody ever found it, you would probably get in a lot of trouble. When you send it through the dark web, your file gets wrapped up in multiple layers of encryption and it has to go through a bunch of checkpoints in order to be decoded. Only the file knows the path it is going to be taking to its destination, and each layer of that path only knows how to decode one layer of the file, where it came from previously and where it's going to be going next. Eventually, after traveling through all of the layers, the message is finally decrypted and can be seen normally. So this was great for the US government. They could surf the web and send files anonymously without anyone knowing it was them. Except you would 100% know it was them every single time because they were the only ones using it. This means if any hacker were to catch one of these onion files flying through the air, they could say, oh, well, this is obviously some super secret information from the government and I am definitely going to be stealing that. Even though a hacker couldn't necessarily open the files, it's still not the best to let hackers know that you are sending the files at all if you are the government. That's the equivalent of putting $1 million in the back of a truck, saying you're going to go from point A to point B and hoping that no one steals the money along the way. So they really only had one choice. They had to open this completely anonymous internet service to the public worldwide. That way, just like the regular internet, these files could come from anywhere and anyone. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everyone's selling games now. That's just great. If it wasn't already obvious, giving people access to a global network where they could stay completely anonymous wouldn't just attract the kids who got straight A's in school. Turns out it attracted the kids who got straight A's and were also really weird. The kind that would stomp on all of the ants to make sure they were all dead. But anyways, this is the Tor browser. You can't access the dark web with a normal web browser like Google Chrome or Safari. You need a browser that's able to access .onion domains, and the Onion router, aka Tor, is able to do that. First, you want to go to the Hidden Wiki. This is the place where you can access pretty much every well-known website on the dark web. The reason it exists is because all of the links to websites on the dark web look like this. And I don't think that anyone is going to remember a name like that. You got normal things like blogs, social media, spicy content, stolen credit card information, illegal animal meat, people meat, and assassins. But let's talk about that stuff later. To get a real grip of exactly how the dark market works, let me take you on a journey to the Silk Road. Now, in real life, the Silk Road was a trade route that spanned pretty much half of the world and was essential to constructing how society works, even affecting how we live today. On the other hand, the Silk Road on the dark web was a similar network, except it was worldwide. But unlike normal goods and services, this was used for drugs, guns, and sometimes even people, or much worse. Hopefully you don't buy any of that stuff, but if you wanted to, you might be asking yourself, how do I pay for that? Surely if I just used my credit card, that wouldn't be very anonymous. And you're right, if you used your credit card on any of that stuff, the FBI would be at your door within minutes. So instead, the dark web uses our good old pal Bitcoin. Yes, while everyone over here on the surface web is holding the Bitcoin until the end of time, can you believe there's actually people out there who use this digital currency to buy things? Disgusting. The Silk Road reportedly made almost $200 million in the first 2 years it was active. And if you want to try it for yourself, well, you can't. Unfortunately, the Silk Road was shut down back in 2013, and its creator was sent to prison for the rest of his life. It was one of the most insane busts of all time. Still want to buy some crazy stuff? You're in luck. If you scour the Hidden Wiki, you'll come across multiple websites that basically sell anything and everything. These websites come and go every month, as a lot of them have to get completely shut down before they get too big to avoid the same outcome as the Silk Road. You'll most likely need Bitcoin to make any purchases. But if you want to make some really sketchy buys, you'll need whatever niche cryptocurrency the seller is asking for. Maybe it's Dink Doink. I don't know. Milfcoin? By the way, if you buy any of these things, make sure to never send it to your house. I don't know if I have to tell you this, it should be pretty common sense, but the marketplaces ain't like Amazon. They don't have nice trucks that come with drop-off verification or same-day shipping. If you get something from the dark web to your house, expect it to come in the most suspicious box of all time, and the delivery person is probably the most sus person of all time. That is, if it even gets to your house in the first place. But speaking of insane things to buy, yes, the moment you've all been waiting for, it's finally time to go through some of the most disturbing and illegal things that you can buy from the dark web. For legal purposes, I'm here to tell you clearly, do not buy any of this stuff, and if you do, you are officially warned. But you asked for it. One of the most common things that you could buy on the dark web is credit card information. Sometimes if you go to a gas station or ATM, the card reader might look a little bit broken. If that's the case, then don't use it, because your credit card info is probably going to get stolen. It is possible to put a fake credit card scanner inside of a real credit card scanner, so that when you insert your card and type in your PIN, the fake scanner reads all of the information and stores it. After that, the person who put the fake scanner there can just come, retrieve it, and upload all of your information onto the dark web. Then they sell all of this information on the websites for Bitcoin, which definitely sucks for you, but it's not that gruesome or anything, right? Don't worry. Unfortunately, we're gonna get there. Why steal a credit card when you could steal someone's entire identity? Yes, on the dark web, you could buy things like fake IDs, driver licenses, passports, tax returns, and any other identification documents you might need in order to become someone else. These honestly kind of suck most of the time, and if you buy a fake passport, you're kind of an idiot, because nowadays, passports have encrypted electronic chips inside of them and other minor details that help officers identify if they're real or not. Step into an airport with one of these fake passports, and I'm willing to bet you will immediately get banned from every country ever, and you're gonna get put in jail immediately. On the other hand, if you want to get into a club or a bar and you're not of legal age, I don't think the 25-year-old bouncer is really gonna be able to tell if the ID is fake or not. So you could probably get away with that, I guess. Not that you should. Another thing that you could buy on the dark web is fake money. You could get $10,000 of fake cash just for $100. It is literally money on sale. But just make sure you're not using any of that fake money in a store, because the person at the cash register has a brain. Most of the time, they're instructed to check this money, and you're probably going to get caught. And if you're thinking of buying fake money, See, just learn how to make the real stuff instead. Next, we have the social medias on the dark web, and this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. Because dark web social media isn't like regular social media. Big surprise, when you get people who want to hide their identity at all costs onto a message board, they usually don't want to post a picture of themselves at Disneyland. These people usually want to discuss things like recipes for deadly chemicals, which is concerning, or they all get together to talk about their least favorite race of people. And that is the nicest way I think I could have ever written that sentence because it is so messed up. But who has the time to make all of these deadly weapons of mass destruction when you could just buy them? It is very easy to buy some crazy tools on the dark web, and I'm not just talking about screwdrivers and hammers. Let's just say you can get some crazy realistic kitchen knives and Nerf guns shipped right to your door. But even if you want to destroy someone in a different way, the dark web has many different options for that. You can pay someone to fake documents saying something like, I don't know, your wife failed to pay her taxes for the past 10 years of her life and she owes the government millions of dollars. That will probably get rid of her. You can get people to spam fake gossip on social media to blackmail the people you don't like. And you could even get people to fake spicy content and pretend they are someone else. Speaking of spicy content, the dark web has a lot of that. Like, a lot. And I'm talking about the stuff that is actually bad. See, there's regular stuff on the surface web, some freaky stuff, and even some pretty weird stuff too. But if you dive into the dark web, that is where you could find straight up illegal stuff, which I genuinely cannot even talk about. So you could just use your imagination. Actually, don't do that. I don't even know why I said that. Anyways, have you ever wanted to buy a giraffe? Well, on the dark web, you can, because on some websites, you can find illegal animal meat. I'm talking lions, rhinos, pandas, and you know what? I think I just became a vegan, and I'm with Panda on this one. And last, but certainly not least, hitmen. Yes, on the dark web, it is rumored that you can pay someone tens of thousands of dollars to take out any target of your choice. You just have to give them the information, and within a few days, the deed is done. But now, there's a few important reasons why you should never buy anything on the dark web or even use it. And the main reason is honeypots. Honeypots are the name of the game when it comes to the dark web. Most, if not all of the services that I have just mentioned have a 90% chance of being completely fake. If you stick your hand too far into the honeypot, you'll get stuck. Basically, sellers know that buyers on the dark web are desperate. More often than not, these sites that sell illegal substances or services take the money of the buyers and just send them nothing at all in return, which means the seller makes out with a boatload of Bitcoin for doing nothing at all. And the buyers have no way to track down the seller because, first of all, the seller is anonymous and they can't just go to the police because what are they going to tell them? Hey, I was trying to buy something illegal and the guy stole my Bitcoin. Good luck with that one, buddy. And a lot of the time, these honeypots are run by the government themselves. If someone ordered a hitman on a site run by the FBI, well, congrats. They have literally all of the evidence they need to arrest you. And this, among many other reasons, is why you should never go on the dark web. Yes, it is not illegal to download the Tor browser and surf some of the dark web sites, but as soon as you make a suspicious purchase, you're basically getting booked. And even if you don't plan on purchasing anything, just being on the dark web itself can get you into a lot of trouble with hackers. If you're not using a perfect VPN, you're cooked. If you accidentally reveal any personal information, you're on a hit list. If you even dare use the dark web on a computer that has some of your other important files on it, you're getting everything stolen. So even now how you know the dark web works, don't go on it. It can cost you your life and even worse, a lot of Bitcoin.